Hello, it's Lion here with HobbiesofaMan once again, and today we are doing our monthly ramble for the month of February. Now, this topic might not be a good one to discuss, but it's just one I was thinking about the other day. So let's talk about demographics. There's 5 main manga demographics, and demographics are not the same thing as genres. There's also some labels that could be demographics or could be genres, but usually those are not used in English, so it doesn't really matter. But the 5 main demographics that you're going to hear about are going to be shonen, boys comics, seinen, adult male comics, shoujo, which are girl comics, and josei, which is adult female comics, and then komodo or kodomo. I don't remember exactly how to say it. I don't remember the order, but that's basically kids comics. So something like Chi Sweet Home is a kids comic. Something like Wozakoi is a josei. Something like Yona of the Dawn is going to be a shoujo. That one is actually an outlier in terms of what people think a shoujo is, because mostly people think shoujo is romance. That's not really the case. However, a lot of the times demographics and genres end up being more about the general idea that people have about them instead of what they actually mean. So there you go. Most people think shoujo is romance, so most people are going to think of that. And that's just how it goes. But, you know, it just means comics that definitely are skewed for women. But there's a lot of cool ones, like Fushugi Yugi, Skip Beat, Yona of the Dawn. I have a few other ones. Prince Freya. And a few other ones like that. And if you think about seinen, the most famous one's probably going to be Berserk, Gantz, you know, stuff like that. And then shonen, basically anything on the Shonen Jump magazine, half of the stuff Kodansha sells, most of what Viz sells, all of that type of stuff. So, yeah, what I really want to talk about here, I don't know, actually. I just kind of am rambling. That's the point of these videos. It's not going to be any editing heavy or anything like that. It's just going to be me talking. So, I don't know. Sometimes I'm on Twitter, and I realize that people just get angry over things on Twitter. And that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. But a lot of people complain and say things on Twitter, and sometimes I'm like, well, that doesn't really make any sense. There's a lot of problems. There's a lot of things that happen on Twitter. First of all, one thing I hate about Twitter, specifically about when it comes to demographics, is that people use shonen as a genre title. It is not a genre title. Although people do refer to shonen, like battle shonen, and I think in that case, that is a genre because everyone understands what they're specifically talking about when they say battle shonen. They mean the Shonen Jump titles or the Shonen magazine titles that are about action, right? Usually stuff like Naruto, Bleach, One Piece, Fairy Tail, stuff like that. Everyone understands what that means. But I think people don't understand that battle shonen is specifically referring to a group of shonen, and that shonen itself is the demographic, the kind of overarching thing, right? So, yeah, shonen is not a genre. It is not a genre. Demographic and genre are different. A genre is a list of attributes given a title in order to help readers understand what they're going to get when they look at that story, right? So the term fantasy is a genre, but it is very broad. So there's a lot of subgenres. There's epic fantasy, which is basically a story about one major character and an ensemble cast that go on an adventure to save the world. There's also magic school settings or magic school kind of things where it's a kid, he saves the world, but he's at school while he doesn't. There's urban fantasy, which means there's usually a detective or a main character that follows a lead that has to go somewhere, and it's usually stuff that happens in a city or in an urban place where the magic is hidden underground or in some kind of like unseen way, but it still exists in the normal world, right? And there's a bunch of other stuff like that, right? So that's what a genre is. A demographic is what group is going to be targeted by, this thing. So a shonen series targets 12 to 18-year-old boys. It does not mean that that's the only people that can read that. It just means that is what was in mind when people were reading that series, or when people were writing that series, right? Same thing with shoujo. Shoujo just means that the author was looking to appeal to 12 to 18-year-old girls. And so seinen and yosei follow that kind of same idea, right? So, yeah. The easiest way to tell what demographic something is by looking at the magazine it's from, because these magazines are set up by demographic, not by genre. So there you go. That also leads to this kind of interesting situation where there's things that are seinen that you would think are not going to be seinen, because when people think of seinen, they think of Berserk and Gantz, these crazy action series with a lot of sexual content, and that's not really what everything that is in seinen magazines, right? Sometimes you get something like a rom-com or laid-back camp or something like that, stuff that doesn't really have anything to do with action or anything like that, and it happens to be in the seinen magazine because the editors of the group that leads that magazine thought that it would be appealing to the people that usually read it. So there you go. Now, I understand this kind of situation where you think that something for a certain demographic is going to usually contain certain elements. I do this all the time. I mention it a lot in my reviews that, something was a seinen surprisingly, or something was a shonen surprisingly because it had these elements that usually you see in seinen magazines, in seinen series. But that's mostly just me talking to the people that are going to watch this. I don't necessarily think that is a correct way to use those terminologies, but that is how the vast majority of people use them, so I have to do it as well if I want people to understand me, right? So that's just kind of how it goes. I really don't like it, but it's just kind of how you have to do it. That leads me into the issue about shoujo and romance series being kind of thought of as the same. There's a lot of people that look at shonen series that are romantic comedies and think they're shoujos immediately, and well, that's not really the case. That's not how that works. But there's this issue, and a lot of people get angry on Twitter about the fact that most people think shoujo is romance, or that people say shoujo has bad art styles and stuff like that. But it's just because shoujo just doesn't get marketed properly in English, and that's just how it goes. That's not really the consumer's fault, and they're just being led by what the company is doing. And of course, they're going to develop these biases if that's being told to them that way. Also, because their shoujo things are not marketed correctly, not marketed in the same way that shonen things are, people just see them less. And because they see them less, they think that they're less valuable, because if they were valuable, they would be marketed correctly and people would be aware of them, right? And so it just compounds this issue into this situation where basically something gets released, people find out it's shoujo, and they're going to not read it because, shoujo's bad or shoujo's only romance. That's not really their fault. And yes, maybe consumers should be more educated, but that's not really going to happen because people are too lazy to do that. So getting angry over people saying that shoujo is all romance is kind of stupid in my opinion, which is why I don't get mad at people that use demographics incorrectly, because they've been doing it for so long, they're going to continue to do it, and you getting mad at them is not going to change it, right? Also, it's just what it is. People don't buy, or usually male audiences don't buy shoujo because they don't think that it's going to appeal to them. Now, if that's true or not is completely, dependent on the person. But I think in general, there is something to be said about the fact that, how do I explain this without making people angry? Broadly speaking, I think that the themes and the things that are usually set up in shonen magazines or shonen kind of oriented things have a lot more broad appeal to everyone across all genders and preferences and stuff like that than things in shoujo. Now, this is of course not actually the case, but it just kind of feels that way. And I have read quite a few shoujo. I've never really read that many, but the few that I have, or the quite a few that I have, usually don't really resonate with me. I don't find them interesting, and the way that they're written doesn't really feel like it jives with me. Now, this could be a bias that I'm not aware of, or it could be reality. I'm not really sure. That's just how it goes, right? But this month I am trying to read more shoujo and josei, so it is what it is. Every year on the channel, except for the first one, I think. I've tried to use February as a month to look at romantic comedies, romantic series in general, drama stuff, and of course shoujo and josei. So if you watch my TBR, whatever was on there, let me know if there's things that are better than that, and you know, I'll try to get around to reading those at some point as well. So yeah, it is what it is, just how I feel, that's how it goes. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm talking about out of my ass. Let me know that in the comments as well. But don't be angry, because it doesn't really help you. And if you're just gonna be angry at in my comment section, it's not gonna really make me take you seriously, right? Because like being like the way people text when they're angry doesn't really help anyone want to listen to them. So, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, that's all I have to say. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and let me know if what I said is wrong or right, or, you know, if you agree or disagree with me down below. So yeah, that's it. See you guys later.